to the end of the simon, and then to Gimel the next simon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we finish up with the brachas of Zimun. Quite a few things that are Nageya tonight, and then we start Hilchos Kashrus. So in Yud Zayin, Siman Mem Hey, Birchas HaZimun, Yud Zayin. So Shloisha Shachlu, 3 people ate. Ushnayim Gomru Sudasam Roitzim Levarich, right? Inevitably, you have that. 3 guys eating together, and 2 guys want to bench. Ve'echad Adayin LeGomru Sudasai, Ve'ene Roitzim Levarich, and 1 does not want to bench. Tzarachu Lahafsim Sudasai, Kadesh Yivarchu Bezimun. He needs to stop. He needs to stop his suda in order to make a mezuman. And he answers with them, and then they're all yotze zimun, and meaning he gives in, 1 gives into 2, right? He gives into the majority. And you wait, and he has to wait until the mavarich is done hazonis hakol. Then he could start eating again. And he doesn't have to make a new bracha rishona, even though he answered from Mizum. And normally, when we said it yesterday or the day before, then when you say you want a bench, and then you decide to eat more, you need a new bracha. So, he's answering about benching. Yeah, but that wasn't his kavanah. That was just to be part of the Mizum. Now it's interesting here because the Kitzur paskins that he has to wait until a Hazanas Hakol to start eating again. But there are cholkim. Right, the Mechaber holds differently. He holds you don't have to wait till Hazanas Hakol. You just after Baruch Shechan Mishalei, after they answer, then Baruch Shechan Mishalei, then you could start eating. All right, so then it seems like the minig is to wait for Hazanas Hakol. Fine. Then when he's finished, then he just he benches. But 2 don't have to stop for 1. Meaning, if 1 guy wants to leave, these 2 guys can say, "Sorry, you have to wait," because, like we learned yesterday, he's not allowed to leave. If they want, then they could stop. The 2 could stop eating for a minute, let the guy make a mezuman, but that would be lefnim mishurus adin. And the 10 that are eating together. If 6 people want to leave, so the other 4 have to stop for the majority. And then they don't have to wait till Hazanas Hakol. There, after they say Baruch Elokeinu Shulchan B'Shaloi V'Tuachinu, then they could and then they could start eating. Right, so it's interesting the difference between a mezuman with 3 and a mezuman with 10. This I meant to look it up and I didn't have a chance exactly how this goes. Meaning he's saying that when these 3 guys or when these 4 guys eat, they should make their own mezuman again, because they still have a chi of zimun of shloisha because they ate together, right? Yeah, here you're saying so. I wouldn't. I don't know. It's a chiddush, but it could be it's just my amaratzis. Again, the scenario is you have 10 people eating, and 6 leave, so the 4 have to stop their meal and let them make a Baruch Elokeinu. When those 4 continue eating, they're supposed to make their own mezuman together, but that's only if there's right. Yeah. Now I think that's only if they didn't have kavana to be yotze the mitzvah of zimun with the 10. But if they had the kavana, then l'chayra, then they can't. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, Yudches. Let's say you have these huge meals. Now you have a big Sheva brachos on Shabbos, especially when you don't have a microphone. You should pick somebody who knows how to say the mezuman very loud. And so everybody should hear at least at the minimum till Hazanas Hakol. And if that's not possible, then they should break up into chaburas of 10, meaning it's so important to be able to hear whoever's leading the mezuman, that better We should not have roivam, not have a larger minyan, and split it up to individuals. Okay, what's with using a microphone? So this is the same old machlokes that we always have. Can you use a microphone for this? Okay. This is the corona halachas. Right? We learned a lot of halachas from this. You have two chaburas that are eating in one house or in two houses. So can they combine for a mezuman? So if some of the crowd is able to see the rest of the crowd, that's what we're doing during COVID. If you had different people being able to see each other, can they make a minyan on the front lawns and that whole sugi? Let's say they can't see each other. They can't combine. Each one has to make their own mezuman. Let's say they have one waiter going back and forth, then he will combine the two crowds. He went in mitchila in order to that was his kavanah, to combine the crowds. And it only works if they could hear each other, if they could hear the mazamin, right? Like we just said. What about making a mazamin in a restaurant? So really, if you're eating there, not eating with friends, and you don't have kavanah to eat together, then you can't include them in a mazamin. But if you hear the table next to you making a mazamin, then you could listen in on that. Right? The poskim say that to make a mazamin in a car, unless you had specific kavanah to be eating together, in a car and a bus, you can't make a mazamin. But on the trains and planes, longer trips, then there's more of a heter to do that. Okay, chaf mishu etzel mevarchim bezimun v'ulay achav v'ulay shasim. Let's say somebody is buying mazamin, and you didn't eat or drink with them. Kishu shemeya shem mevarich aimer nevarich shulchanu shalai. Ainahu, then you are supposed to answer baruch mevarich shmai tamid la'olam va'ed. Right, that's what you're supposed to answer. But that's only if you didn't eat or drink. So let's say there's 10 people. Let's say you got there and you only heard that last line you heard the tzibur saying Baruch Shechanu, and all you do is answer Amen. Fine. Now this next one is we can get a pretty interesting chumrah that if anybody wants to ruffle some feathers, you can use this halacha and really, you could really have an interesting end of the meal if you do this halacha. So you have three people and they're sitting and each one, let's say in yeshiva dining room, right? Or in a cafeteria at work or whatever it is. And each one's eating their own bread. One of them is eating not pas Yisrael. And the other two don't eat pas Yisrael. Right? You can just see where this is going. Because can they combine? Because they're not considered eating. Well, the question is, are they considered to be
You're
eating?
not allowed to not eat pas Yisrael.
What?
I thought you're not allowed to not eat pas Yisrael.
No. Well, there are certain ones that are more makel, depending on the situation. We're talking about a situation where two are not going to eat it and one is going to rely on the leniencies. Right?
I thought the only leniency is Chol Yisrael, whatever that.
No, it's not Chol. He's not talking about Chol.
No, but I'm saying I thought pas Yisrael is we always eat pas Yisrael. There's no such thing as non-pas Yisrael.
No, what are you saying? What do you mean?
No, pas palter of pretzels and all that stuff is not.
No, pas palter, Arnold's bread, and all that stuff. All that. I mean, most people I don't think are makbid on pas Yisrael for that. All right, but it's complicated. But whatever it is, so two guys are makbid and one guy's not makbid. So the kids are saying they're still allowed to make a mezuman together, but who should lead the mezuman? So the one that's eating the pas akum is the one to make the mezuman. He should lead it. Why? Because he has the ability to eat food with the other two, because everybody will eat pas Yisrael, meaning the other two won't eat with him. So since the other two won't eat with him, they shouldn't lead the mezuman. Only somebody who can eat with the other two should lead the mezuman. And it'll get clear in the next line. Let's say you have one guy's eating dairy, the other two guys are eating meat. Can you make a mezuman? So you can, but who should lead it? The one that's eating dairy should lead the benching. Why? Because he could stop eating dairy, wash out his mouth, wash his hands, and eat meat. So he has the ability to combine with the other two. Therefore, he should lead the benching. But the other two can't eat dairy, obviously, because they just ate meat. Right? So basically, the one who can eat with the others is the one that's supposed to lead the benching. So it comes out. And so the Pas Yisrael, not Pas Yisrael, is a little not so common. But yeshivas, you have lots of guys that come to yeshiva, and they bring their bagels from Dunkin'. Right? Which, if you're not Chol Yisrael, again, I don't know, I have no idea if Dunkin', the bagels are milk, not ich weiß nicht. Whatever it is, a kid comes in with Entenmann's or whatever. Entenmann's, I don't know if they make croissants, whatever it is that you'd have to wash on. One kid is eating not Chol Yisrael, the other two kids are makpid not to eat Chol Yisrael. So can they make a mezuman? The answer is yes, but the one eating not Chol Yisrael should be the one to lead it, because the other two are not going to eat what he has, right? So you can just see the wars breaking out when they say over this halacha. But if the guy, so this is going back to what we learned 2 days ago, that really lechatchili is supposed to bench on a cup of wine. So what happens if the guy that eats the dairy doesn't drink wine? So should he still lead the benching? Or maybe they only have beer that's chadash, meaning it's not yashan, so you can't drink it. But who nizar me chadash, and he's careful from chadash. Because then it's better that the one that ate meat should make the benching than to make a bracha without a kais. Right? That's how important it is to bench with a kais. So what happens if one of them ate hard cheese, which means he has to wait 6 hours, and the other two ate meat, which means they have to wait 6 hours. So therefore, they can't connect to each other. There are those that say that they're not mitzdarfen. But there is a sheet that says they can still combine, since they're able to share one bread. And you could be makel to combine them. And the Mishnah Brura holds that they have to actually have shared a bread, not that the ability to share a bread is enough. No, they have to actually have shared the bread. Okay, so now, and some say that nowadays that people wait a half hour from between milchiks and fleishiks, alpi Kabbalah, so maybe you can't combine anymore. Okay, Chav Beis. This Chav Beis is this is for women, like we mentioned it yesterday, but here he brings it. Women that are eating together with men that are chayiv in a zimun. They are chayiv in a mezuman. Right? So women go to chasanas and they wash, which most of the time I think they don't. But if they do, they have the same dinam as men. They can't leave the chasana until the mezuman, which is really tough for women because they can't make their own, but they can theoretically make their own mezuman, but it doesn't seem like they do anymore. So the women are chayiv in it. Fine. But I'm saying there are those that are melamed schus on them. People do it. They just do it. So what are you going to do? All right. Fine. Katan noigin sheim mitzdarf lezimun achu ben shloishes v'shana v'yam echad. The minig is not to let a cotton be part of it. But there are those that hold that they can. But once he's 13 in a day, then he can combine with the zimun. Even though you didn't check him to see if he's hit the puberty or not. Let's say somebody, he doesn't read Kriyashma. I mean, he's not from. or he's over Averis in public. You can't use him for a Zimun. This is a very common question. You have, people that have irreligious parents, relatives, and they want to include them. So the kids are saying they can't. The contemporary poskim say that unless they're nowadays that they're teenage shenishbas, so unless they hate, unless they're mamish anti, like some of the Israeli politicians, those guys you couldn't include. But the ones that are just, they're not from because they're just not from. They don't, they're not anti the from relatives. So then the place can say that they can combine. Ger gomer mitzdarf lezimun, a ger gomer can mitzdarf lezimun. Gam hu yachol levarach v'lomer al shin chalta lavisenu. He could also say shin chalta lavisenu. How could he say that? He wasn't a yid then. Tichsib Avram ki av hamayim goyim nesaticha. V'dashinan l'sha'avar haya avla aram mikan ve'elech l'kol hagoyim. Fine. Okay, that is the end of Birchas Hazima. Now we start in Hilchos Macholas Asuras. Right, so it starts off with a bang. That's 46 seifim. So there's a lot of information here. Aleph, dam hanimtza bebeitzim asur. If you have blood that's found in eggs, is asur. Oh, you hear what he's saying? And sometimes the entire egg is asur. You should check them. You see what he's saying? It's really only the blood that's in the egg that's also. You take out the blood, the egg is mutter. Me'ikar adin. Now our minig is because, well, now that eggs are expensive, maybe this is changing. The eggs are probably, I've heard from like the most expensive they've been in a maybe in history. It was like $5-6 a dozen. So it used to be eggs, big deal, throw the whole egg out. Right now, maybe it's becoming a premium. So now maybe we go back to the ikar din, which is just throw out the blood, but the egg itself is fine. The reason why you have to throw out the blood is because you're not allowed to drink blood, but the rest of the egg would be fine. The only reason the egg would be usher is because we're afraid that maybe that blood was starting to grow into a chick, right? But nowadays these eggs are not fertilized; they're not anywhere near men. But okay, we'll discuss that at a later time. Dam dogim mutter. Fish blood is mutter. Achim Kitzur b'kli. If you gather the fish blood in the utensil, also made maras ayin. It's also because of maras ayin, because people are going to think that you're drinking blood from a animal. Let's say you can recognize the cup that it's from fish. It has scales. Mutter. Then it's mutter because there's no maras ayin anymore. Gimel im nashach kikar. If you take a bite of bread, and the blood goes out of your teeth, I'll give you a kikar on the bread. I think this is more negaya to apples, right? The apples could be hard. So tzarach lachtach mokam hadam ulezarka. You have to cut out the piece that has the blood on it and dispose. But when you have blood in your teeth, that you don't have to worry about. You're allowed to even suck it and swallow it, since it never detached from the body. So since it never detached from the body, therefore it is mutter. For Leiber Shabbos, but you obviously can't do that on Shabbos, because on Shabbos it's a melacha to make yourself bleed. Okay, that is all for tonight. And everybody should be matzliach and have a fine night.